Yo, what's going on, guys? My name is Colton. Many of you probably know me as SF Giants today. Um, Today we're going to be recapping what was the first series of the 2026 season. The Giants and the Yankees had a couple of national televised games in there, and there's a lot to go through today. So I'm going to be breaking that down today. As we're trying to, this is going to be something new I'm going to try to do. I'm going to try and break down every series after they're finished. Today I got a special guest with me. This is my bud Kyle, also known as our SF Giants on Instagram. How are you doing today, bro?
Good man. Kind of retired from the RSF Giants, but yeah, still obviously
Yeah, this
watching,
guy's
rooting for the team.
yeah, this guy's been at it for a minute. He's an OG. But yeah, he obviously knows what he's talking about. He's one of the first people I met when I came onto Instagram, and he knows what he's talking about. And we're gonna have a lot of good discussions today. There's a lot to talk about, obviously. Some things that we're gonna be discussing today. We're gonna talk about the series, obviously. Is it a concern? Is it a slow start? We're gonna talk about Logan Webb, his start. We're gonna talk about Tony V as well. He's catching a lot of interesting stuff is being said about him. Then we're gonna talk about some of the positives, if there is any. We'll discuss that as well. So that's kind of just a little overview of what this episode is going to be about today. And yeah, so with that, let's get right into the first segment. We're going to start with game one. Game one, it was Wednesday, opening night for all of baseball. Whole world was watching. It was on Netflix for everyone to see. The scheduled start time was 5:05 p.m. and that was not the actual start time. It actually was about 20 minutes after that. They had a whole ceremony and fiasco, whatever you want to call that. What did you think of the broadcast in general? Not just everything combined, opening, the interviews, all of it. What did you think of the Netflix broadcast?
I'm never a fan of when any televised, it's the NFL when they did, I think it was that Thanksgiving? No, they did Christmas or like when they do boxing events and all that. Like they just never work. It's always terrible broadcasting. There's always something that happens with it. So I was unable to watch the full game, but I would catch bits and pieces of it, and I was not surprised that it was terrible quality at times. So I mean, it's
Yeah,
cool that we were like the team to beat it with the Yankees, but it's like I'd rather just watch it on the regular channel the next day.
yeah, I agree. This was Netflix. Netflix is trying to get into sports. I think this was their first time with baseball, if I'm not mistaken, and it was pretty big game, first game of the season.
Yeah.
Like you said, I'm glad we were a part of it. It was definitely interesting. Like going into it, I was very hyped. I had some wings and everything. I was ready for the game. Uh, but I personally um, wasn't a fan. Doesn't help when your team's down by 7 after the first few innings, which we're about to talk about. But yeah, I wasn't a big fan of it. I kind of just like Krug and Kype traditional. Excited to get used to that coming up, and I'm
hmm
glad that's behind us. But let's talk about the game a little bit. Let's start with Logan Webb. Logan Webb, I got his line right here. He went 5 innings despite not pitching good. Gave up 9 hits, a lot of soft contact, a lot of hard contact. 6 earned runs. He did have 7 strikeouts. Led the league in strikeouts last year because of he was just able to punch guys out. Pitched a lot of innings, obviously, and he only had 1 walk. What do you make of his performance? Was it good? Was it bad? Was it unlucky? What do you think?
I mean, definitely was not great, and I think Webb would tell everyone that too. But I don't like the idea like that people always for some reason have of Webb when he has one poor start is like he's not an ace. He's a two or three at best. I think people forget like he's a sinker baller. Like that's made to
Right.
get contact. Like and there will be days where he's gonna give up an 82-mile ground ball or end of the bat, or sometimes they will barrel it. Like it's gonna find a hole. But it's like, yeah, I mean, it wasn't like he wasn't getting swing and miss. He struck out Judge, what was it, 3 times?
3 times,
I
yeah,
think it was 3 times. But either way,
three
he
times.
had seven Ks on the day. I think it's one of those things where you can go and pick and choose, but of Webb, a handful of Webb starts, and say maybe he didn't perform well against a high tier team like the Yankees. But it's also like, what were your expectations? He's
Right.
had I don't think he's ever had technically a great start against the Yankees. It was like 2 years ago he faced them and he gave up 2 home runs to Judge. Like he's never the Yankees have his number. So I wasn't. I mean, obviously I didn't think 7 runs was going to be his stat line, but I was
Right.
more prepared for like a 5 inning 3 run day where he did enough to win. But I don't think it's anything to be worried about.
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback off what you said. He did strike out Judge 3 times. He's actually been bad against the whole American League East, except the Tampa Bay Rays. But yeah, I just saw something. He's bad against the Blue Jays, bad against the Orioles, and bad against the Red Sox. So I guess it's just like that whole division pretty much just has zonage on him for whatever reason. But yeah, like you said, this whole notion that like after a certain game he'll have a start like this, and it's just Webb's not a good starter. He's not an ace. He'll come out the very next start and dominate. Um, but yeah, like we've seen before, it's been a very small sample size. He's had pitched in 2 playoff games for the team, dominated in both of them. He had 2 starts in the WBC. Granted, it was against Brazil and Canada. Canada, a good team, probably the lesser of the Dominican Republic and who do they face? Venezuela, probably the worst of the three, but still a very solid team. And he pitched well against both of them. Point being, he's rised up in the few big games that he's pitched. But in the regular season, it just seems like teams like the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Padres just have his number for whatever reason. And I think that's kind of what annoys fans when it comes to Logan Webb. It's just kind of the inconsistency. But like you said, he's a sinker baller, and the defense is something that's been an issue his whole tenure with the Giants. And signing Arias definitely didn't help that. We'll get into that in a little bit as well. But yeah, not a great performance by any means. But with that, let's get into the offense for the first game, or lack of what was. The only 3 players that got hits that game were Arias, Devers, and Ramos. It was a lot of unluckiness. If you watch the game, there was I think 1 inning where they had 3 balls that were hit over 100 miles an hour, and they were all outs. Um, One thing I want to bring up is leading into the season, they faced Max Fried, obviously opening night. 2 games before that, they faced some team in Monterey. I couldn't tell you who they faced, but there's obviously a big skill gap. And I want to ask you, do you think
Mhm.
those 2 games played an impact of like seeing a pitcher, whoever they were facing, and then rolling into Max Fried? Do you think that impacted the offense at all?
I don't maybe like a little bit, but it's not as much as I think many could really put blame on because these dudes have, those I think it's called like traject machines where it literally is a image of the pitcher shooting out exactly what he
Right.
throws. It's like they had the scouting reports, they knew who they were facing. I mean, it would be like different. It's like what would you prefer? 2 days of rest leading up to opening day or facing a team and getting live at bats and seeing pitchers. Like I think that they're still going to choose the Monterey team rather than 2 days rest. So I don't really think that was necessarily a problem for why the bats have been cold.
Right. Yeah. I would agree with you. Actually, it's a very good point. Like you said, they have all the technology they need to replicate Max Fried, the stuff he has, and they have all the access to it, obviously the players. And they get paid a lot of money to do so. There's a lot of high paid players in that lineup, and for them to not produce not only that game but the whole series, it gets fans like really annoyed and it gets a lot of people talking. But yeah, just overall a recap of game one. Offense did not show up. Webb didn't really show up either. I do want to highlight a positive. The bullpen came in after Webb and kind of did its thing. Granted, it was kind of a low leverage for everybody, but the bullpen was a big question mark going into the season. And throughout the series, they kind of held their own. What did you make of the bullpen? We'll just talk about it right now. Uh, of this series, what did you think of the bullpen?
Yeah, like I think Keaton Wynn's really underrated. I think his splitter is an elite pitch. I don't think his fastball is great necessarily. Like the shape of it's not the best, but he throws that with a sinker. So I think the pitch mix as a whole, if he's just able to command his splitter, he'll be a very solid reliever for us. Caleb Killian looks like he could be, you know, a real guy for us. Funny enough, he was a prospect for us, so
Right.
I think he's got a good four pitch mix. And then trying to think who else pitched that's kind of more new. JT Brubaker, even though he pitched a little for us last year, I'm not the biggest fan of him as kind of like a long guy. I feel like we have better options down in Sacramento with like Carson Seymour, Spencer Bivens, and even Trevor McDonald. But I can understand also if they want them to stay as starters. But no, I don't think the bullpen at all was a problem in the series, especially kind of from two guys who maybe didn't know what to expect with Keaton Wynn with his elbow surgery and Caleb Killian making the squad after being a non-roster.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. I just wanted to highlight a positive real quick, which was the bullpen. Because this video is going to be a lot of negative. There was not much to be positive about this series, so I just wanted to talk about that briefly. Also, briefly, we'll talk about game two, just because there's not a lot to talk about. There's only one hit that game, and it came from Elliot Ramos. It wasn't a home run or anything. I'm pretty sure it was just an extra base hit. Uh, but yeah,
Yeah, it was
I
the
do kind of
I think
want to talk about Willie Adames a little bit. He started the season 0 for 6 with 6 strikeouts. Aaron Judge is hearing it a lot for his performance. He has a couple of home runs. What are your thoughts on Adames, not only to start this season, but just in general? Is he playing up to his expectations, and what can we realistically expect from Adames?
well, I think that's the good question you ask is like, what are the expectations? Because you gave him the most money the Giants have ever given out for a contract. You know
At the time,
personally,
yeah. Right.
we've had conversations about my thoughts on Thomas. Yeah. And it's like, I was not a big fan of Adamas. Like, I don't think he's one of the top, that top, like he got paid top seven shortstop money, and I don't think
Right.
he's, worth that. I think he's realistically gonna be a 20 to, I know he hit 30 last year, but he is realistically that more 20 to, 27 home run power guy that's not going to have the highest average. He's going to be, have months where he's cold, and we saw that last year. And I remember saying, think I said he'll finish probably like a 750 OPS. Some Giants fans will be okay with it, some won't. He was a 740, so I was around the ballpark, but I think some Giants fans saw the signing and they overrated what Adames has been. He's never been a superstar. He's never been, this multi-year MV or a multi-year All-Star. I think he's just a very solid shortstop, and he would be good for a team that has multiple stars around him, and we don't really have that.
Yeah, like you said, at the time when we signed Willie Adames, he was like the guy. The Giants had not been able to get any free agent hitter to come to San Francisco for whatever reason that may be. And Willie Adames was finally like the guy. Overpaid him a little bit, obviously, some would say. But they got him to San Francisco, and he's very high energy. We heard nothing but good things about him, clubhouse wise. And we saw the stats the season before. He obviously had a career year going into free agency. Everyone knew he was going to get paid. I'm pretty sure I want to say like 33 homers, 100 plus RBIs going into free agency. And his OPS was around 800. So I think it was the highest of his career given. But nobody. It's kind of like the Harrison Bader thing. Nobody like expected him to have that type of year every year. It was his best season, contract year. Like you said, 20 to 25 homers, kind of the more realistic with good defense. He was a good defender. Kind of struggled a little bit last year, and then as the season went on, progressed a little bit. But that was kind of the expectation with Adames, at least for like generally just solid play with like good leadership. He's a good clubhouse presence and everything like that. But I think what frustrates me and what frustrates a lot of fans, first and third, no outs, Adames is at the plate. That's your guy. Like you said, you paid him. He's the guy. He was paid to be the guy. You can't just it's time and time again. You got to come up right there. He's hitting sixth in the lineup. We're not asking him to. He was he cleanup the first 2 games,
Yeah,
or was it? Yeah, I think he was cleanup.
I think he
They
was
moved him down to
clean up. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was cleanup, and then they moved him down to six. And then they're not asking him to like uh hit top of the order. He was hitting six, and he just couldn't deliver a meaningful hit in meaningful situations. So I think it's just little moments like that that frustrate me and other fans with Willie. But yeah, I just wanted to briefly go over Willie. Not much to talk about game two. We can talk about Robbie Ray real quick. He had a solid game, and the bullpen pitched well behind him, except Jose Butto gave up a homer. But what did you think of Ray's performance just briefly? Did you like it? Did you dislike it?
Yeah, no, Ray's a kind of a polarizing player, I feel like, for Giants fans because, there he has dominant stretches where he can give you 6 innings. He's going to throw his fastball, his slider, but he doesn't go deep a lot of games at times because, the guys fell off pitches, his command can be off. I don't think he had any walks in that game, which was great, but yeah, like there's just times where he has uncompetitive pitches and that obviously will tally up the pitch count. But no, one thing I liked from Ray is he refined his slider. It was more actually like a cutter in last year, which now it's more back to a lower vert and probably I think it's around 3 or 4 horizontal. So it's a lot better. It works better for his arsenal, and I think if he can keep it consistent, we can get a more first half Ray or a little in between the first half Ray than what he showed in the second half of last season.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Ray's a very interesting player. He made the All-Star team last season. Obviously, the Giants had high expectations for him going into the season. He's the number two starter. They didn't really invest in any starting pitching in the offseason like we thought they would. They got a couple depth pieces we'll talk about in a minute. But Ray was obviously the clear number two going into the season, so they obviously have belief in him. Had a solid game, but the offense just once again did not show up like I mentioned. Only got one hit that game. So yeah, that was game two of the season. They started 0-2. I didn't get to watch that game. I was about to say unfortunately, but I think I'm just gonna say fortunately. I didn't get to watch that game. So let's roll into game three. The Giants scored their first run in the third game of the season. I want to say it was the 20th inning, which would have been the third inning of that game, obviously. But it took the Giants 20 innings to score a run this season. It was unbelievable. Matt Chapman drives in. Who did he drive in? I want to say Jung Hoo Lee.
I think it
Did
was
I make
Jung
that
Hoo
up?
Lee. Yeah,
Yeah, Matt Chapman
no,
drove
that's
in.
right.
Jung Hoo Lee.
Lee doubled.
Yeah, little RBI knock. Celebrate, bring on everybody. The Gatorade showers, bring it all out. It kind of felt like that. But yeah, that game, it was a little lineup switch. Like I said, Adames hit sixth, Lee was lead off, and then Arias was hitting third, Devers cleanup. A lot of little tweaks. Tony V trying to make a move, trying to switch something up. Didn't really make that big of a difference. I will say this was the best the offense has been all series. They had 9 total hits. They just couldn't, like I said with the Adames, bad situational hitting time and time again. But I thought the offense was solid this game. There is some things to be positive about. Obviously, no homers this series for the Giants. Arise and Devers both went 2 for 4 yesterday. Um, Arise gets a lot of criticized, a lot of like comments as well, just because of his play, just because he's a one-tool player, quote unquote. Fans think, which is true, sort of. But yeah, we can also talk about Tyler Mahle. Made his Giants debut on Sunday. Mornings pitch, had 5 strikeouts. Didn't go deep into the game, not only because of his injury issues last year, but his pitch count just got ran up there, like you said, with Robbie Ray as well. What did you make of Tyler Mahle, if anything? And do you think he's going to be a solid piece for the Giants this year? Is he kind of an X factor a little bit?
Yeah, no, Mally's interesting because he kind of is similar to when we signed Kevin Gosman originally, where he has a solid fastball. Well, Mally's actually is better. Then he has that splitter, which is really his go-to out pitch, both with swing and miss and can get a ground ball. Um, he was pitching well. I mean, obviously there's in that was it maybe that fourth inning where he gave up those runs and he threw I think a 3-1 fastball to Ben Rice that just caught way too much plate. And
Yeah.
I mean, Bellinger poked one out to kind of right center. I think Arise may have another second baseman probably makes that play or at least can stop it. But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I think Tyler Mahle definitely showed should have showed Giants fans that he's a very solid pitcher. It's really more of the health standpoint of can he throw you 120 innings?
yeah, for sure. One thing I also want to talk about from the same game as well. There was a moment in the seventh inning where it was two outs. Tim Hill was in the game. The Giants obviously needed a spark. Jung Hoo Lee versus Tim Hill. The Giants have a bench they haven't really used whatsoever this first series. A lot of critics are saying there should have been a pinch hitter in that spot. Do you agree? Who should it have been, or should Jung Hoo Lee, who's making 20 million for the next 4 years, should he have been the guy in that spot? What do you think about that whole situation?
Yeah, I think early on, I don't fault Vitello at all for letting Lee hit. I think you kind of have to play it out. I think if this was, game 41 of the season and you kind of have more at bats under the belt where maybe Lee's really not hitting left-handed pitching, and I get that was already a tough matchup for him, but you look at the guys on the bench. You have Herrera and Encarnacion. Can't can't really say much about him. He hasn't ever put it on the field consistently. Christian
Right.
Koss, who is a contact guy, but so is Lee. And then you had Jared or well, I don't even know how to actually say his
I,
last
I
name.
think it's is it Oliver or Olivia?
Yeah, I don't either one. He's obviously
Yeah.
like he's never been known for his bat. And then you're not going to use your backup catcher to hit because obviously you just wouldn't do that. So no, I think it was just really Giants not winning games and putting up runs. There's a lot to be mad at, and that's one of them. If Lee ended up coming through there, you would have never obviously heard he should have put in a right-handed guy. Like I mean, the lineup was supposed to be a unit where you're not really going to see guys get much pinch hit opportunities, and obviously when they're not hitting, now you're going to be asking why are these guys not getting pinch hit opportunities?
Yeah, exactly. And my thing, I have notifications on for all these Giants beat reporters, etc. When that moment happened, it was Alex Pavlovich. He tweeted, he said, should he was like, why do you have a bench if you're just not going to use the bench? Alex Pavlovich tweeted that, and it kind of just caught my attention. I didn't think it was a huge big of a deal not really using a pinch hitter there. Um, but I think Alex Pavlovich thought it did. A couple other people thought it did. Which is it's a fair point. Why do you have these guys on the bench if you're just not going to use them at all? But I think the way this lineup is set up, it's just so like there's not a lot of people that you can really like pinch hit for in certain situations. Like you have Willie Adames,
Yeah,
he's not going to get. You're going to play him every day. Chapman every day. Ramos every day unless he's in a slump. It's the beginning of the season. Jung Hoo Lee's making 20 million. He's going to play every day. Patrick Bailey, he's the
Devers,
starting catcher. He's not the greatest hitter. Devers, um, Bader, he signed a deal with the attention of playing every day, I'm sure. Good defender as well. The bat was good last year as well. So just the point being, there's a lot of guys in here who are playing every day. And I think the bench is set up to where these guys on the bench aren't expecting to necessarily fight for playing time. They know their role as a bench player. And my argument for that is I think Bryce Eldridge should be on the team. I don't know why he didn't make the opening day roster. Well, I do know it's for depth reasons. They would rather cut ties with Gerard Encarnacion and get another look at him instead of just starting the season with Bryce Eldridge. It could have a little bit to do with service time as well. I don't think it's that much, but my point being, their reasoning is development. That's what they're saying. They want to see him strikes out too much. James Wood strikes out 35% of the time. He also had an 850 OPS last year, which would have been the best on the Giants, and that's something Bryce Eldridge is definitely capable of doing. Why not let him develop at the MLB level? When this lineup is set up, he doesn't have to be that guy every day, and that should be the point of emphasis. Hey, man, we're gonna put you seventh. Just do your thing. We're gonna continue to develop you. who cares if you strike out? We know he's 6'7". He has a huge strike zone. Like it's a part of his game, obviously. So I would take that upside, that 800, 850, 30 homer upside over Casey Schmidt, who we haven't really talked about because he was horrible this series. He didn't get a single hit, but he's the starting first baseman for the Giants, presumably, at least till Devers gets healthy with his hamstring, which will he ever? That was kind of like an issue last year as well. That's kind of lingering in this season. But yeah, it just kind of upsets me that Bryce Eldridge just has the ability to be a top 5 hitter in this lineup and he's just not on the team. That really bothers me. And obviously I'm not gonna sit here and say they win any of those games if Bryce Eldridge is on the team. I'm just saying it doesn't make sense to have someone who I think could be the best pure hitter. I'm not talking defensive,
Mhm.
just hitter on this team in AAA just because of depth reasons, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Uh, I just wanted to rant about that real quick. It just really makes me mad that he's not on the team. He's one of my favorite players. I just think he has potential to be a great player in this league, and I really want to see him. I think he's ready to be on a major league
Yeah,
player.
I agree.
But yeah, just wanted to ramble about that a little bit. Moving on, that was kind of just a general recap of the series. We talked about each game a little bit. Now I kind of want to talk about Tony Vitello a little bit. Obviously, his first series in professional baseball. Obviously, there was a lot of skepticism when he was hired from national media, from everybody, fans, everybody. Everybody had an opinion on Tony Vitello. Everybody still does. And when you start your professional career 0-3, there's obviously going to be some noise, unfortunately, that comes along with that. Um, what did you see from Tony, if anything? I don't think 3 games is enough to like declare anything, but you know, what was he pressing a little bit? Was he under managing? Was there a certain situation where he could have made a move that would have ended up different? I think personally I can think of a couple. Not a big deal though, it's just this is his first experience. But is it do you have an opinion on Tony Vitello based off this first series?
The For the managing side, the one thing that comes to mind right away was in the last game we had first and second with Harrison Bader up facing David Bednar, and I would have liked to see Bader lay down a bunt to just have the no chance of double play. He grounded into one during that game,
Right.
and I know he's still kind of nursing his hamstring probably a little bit as well. So lay down a
Right.
bunt, have second and third, and while Patrick Bailey and Casey Schmidt have not hit the best or really at all this year, you give them an opportunity where a singles tie the game up, or maybe you do change it up and you use someone on the bat or on the bench. Um, so that was probably the only thing, because then what happened is obviously Harrison Bader struck out, Patrick Bailey double play. I think things could have gone differently if it's second and third one out. So that was probably the one thing. And then I mean, I think really if we won one of these games, it didn't even have to be the last one. Could have been game one, two, or three. But if we just lost the series but took a game, I don't think this Vitello media, just debate would be what it is right now. I think I think he's gonna be, and I don't know, it's just purely off a feeling more. I just think he's gonna be a guy where series wins doesn't even need to be winning streaks necessarily, but if we take 2 out of 3 from the Padres and then win the next series, no sweep, but just 2 out of 3, you're gonna just start seeing these players feel loose, the managing things start kind of put into place. I think right now there's still roles to be found, and I don't think Tony Vitello has done anything alarming where it's like, oh gosh, this his lack of pro experience, managing is
Right.
showing, because I don't believe in that.
Yeah, I completely agree. That was a good example of a situation. Bunt would have been nice there from Bader. I think he's very capable of bunting as well, um, which has been a problem in the past. I don't know. I'm just thinking like Giants in the past. You tell them to lay down a bunt and they just can't do it. I was just thinking of like past
Mhm.
resumes, but anyways, yeah, that And also another thing I want to point out, Aaron Judge was up. I think it was game two, second game. Um, Ryan, I'm gonna try and pronounce his name, Barucki. I think
Yeah.
hopefully I'm saying that right. But yeah, he obviously was left in the game. When Aaron Judge was up to bat, two lefties behind Judge, obviously. Barucki the lefty, very good against lefties. You can argue that he's, not very capable against righties. But still, there was two lefties after Judge, Bellinger and Ben Rice. Obviously, I know during the broadcast they were questioning if they would just walk Judge to face the lefties, which they didn't. And obviously, it was a home run. And that was another thing that, it didn't really add up to anything just because the Giants didn't score a run that game. But just little things like that. Fans are going to critique everything Tony Vitello does. And that was another moment where he could have, done something, communicated something, made a move. But he didn't, and the worst possible outcome happened. So you're gonna hear it when stuff like that happens. Another thing I kind of want to talk about with Tony, you hear the phrase "bought in" a lot. Players are bought in on a culture or a manager, etc. Do you think these players, like, obviously they're gonna say like we're with Tony 100%. Do you truly think these players are completely bought in on this college coach? Just in the plan he has and the vision that he has for the team? Do you think everyone's completely bought in on the team?
I think that's the thing where you're going from an old school manager and back-to-back
Yeah,
disappointing seasons with Bob Melvin, and then some of these guys weren't there for even the Gabe Kapler era, but some were like Webb. But it's they're on two different ends of managing just purely off age and where they path to being where they are now are. So, like Bob Melvin was a former MLB player and
right,
managed multiple teams. Tony Vitello was a college player, didn't play pro ball. He's kind of always grinded where he's gone. He didn't say he was a good ball
right.
player. So I think it's one of those things where they are bought in, but it's gonna take some time. Like, and obviously this, it's not even just a Vitella thing. There's a whole staff. There's Ron Washington. There's, you know, who's kind of a manager still in a way. Like he was just managing last year. And then you have Wotus who's back in some way, and the pitching coaches and Jesse Chavez. Like I think it's a good mixture of guys they have of like young guys. Some just got out of coaching that are playing, and some are former managers. So I think it's just one of those things. It's a very different coaching staff, and I think people are putting too much into just one series. And like if seeing the zero in the win column is just really gonna put so much on Vitello, which is
Yeah,
unneeded.
yeah, I agree. It would be different if this series happened in the middle of June. You know what I mean? If you get swept, sweeps happen. You're not going to win every baseball game.
Hmm.
Most teams get swept throughout the season. It just sucks that we haven't won a game since last year, and not a lot of teams can say that.
Yeah.
Diamondbacks can. But anyways, uh, will they go 0 and 162? Who knows? Maybe. Uh, I don't think they will. But yeah, I think when Tony was hired, I never really thought of the idea that this was gonna fail. Like I just thought this was it. Like I just assumed like I don't see a world where this doesn't work. Like I know it's never happened before and a college coach has never like done what Tony's doing right now, but I just for some reason I just can't see Tony Vitello like not working out, getting fired, any of that. Like I see him celebrating, I see him
Yeah.
being fired up, winning games with this team because this is a really like high energy group. Like Bader, Adamas, Drew
Yeah.
Gilbert, who will probably see some point this season. You know what I mean? That's kind of like what I see when I see with Tony V.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's like you said, it's just one series. A lot of baseball left to be played, obviously. Those were only two segments that I kind of had to talk about. We recapped all three games of the Giants Yankees series and kind of talked about Tony V a little bit. It was getting talked about a lot. Do you have anything else that you wanted to add on to? Any players do you wanted to point out? Any things you noticed in the series? Just anything you wanted to talk about before? we close out this this video?
I'll go back to Logan Webb just real quick because I don't think it's anything to take into account right now unless it occurs for maybe a couple more starts. But, you know, his velocity was down a tick, and I noticed that in his last spring training game against the Rockies. That a couple times he threw sinkers that were registered at like 90 exactly or 89.8. And, Webb's obviously not a guy that's known for velocity, but he's also a guy that, usually has like the 92 to 94 and maybe very occasionally a rounded up 95. But then I looked into the numbers, and his fastball is down a little bit, or well, his sinker is down a little bit from I think it was 92.6 to this year being like 91.4, and again one start, but it was with all his pitches besides I think his forcing fastball was like point 0.2, so not much of a difference there. So I don't know if it is just a different buildup from the World Baseball Classic and spring training, and maybe it'll take another start or two to see the velocity uptick. But it is something to maybe be slightly concerned about if our ace, with not the highest depth of innings behind him, has velocity issues, and maybe he has a slight injury or has to get an IL stint, because this is a guy that's pitched 200 innings for years, and I don't think it's going to be a problem. I really hope, but it is going to be something to really monitor.
Yeah, it's a very good point you made. Any pitcher who has a decrease in velocity, it never they almost always get lit up, and that's kind of one of the common things is just their velo's down. Uh, which I mean, it makes sense. The more time the hitter has to react, they're obviously gonna produce more results. Logan Webb's obviously been a very consistent player since he's been with the Giants his whole career. Had Tommy John in the minor leagues. Hasn't had any. Has he had an IL stint since 2021? I don't think he has. He's consistently
No, I
pitched
think that was
200
for like a
innings.
blister too.
Yeah, so
No, I don't think he has.
it's crazy. He's pitched 200 innings pretty much every season. Like you said, it's just one start. I don't think there's a reason to be concerned yet. Maybe two, three. I'm gonna say three starts. He's gonna face the Padres this week. Keep in San Diego, dude. Dude. I don't think he's ever had a good start against the Padres in San Diego. I can't remember one at least. So I'm not really excited about that. But hopefully his velo's up, and hopefully there's at least some signs to take away, and hopefully the offense can help him out a little bit. It'd be nice to see the offense wake up. I think people are due for some hits.
100%.
Yeah, so that would be nice to see. But yeah, guys. First off, I want to thank you for coming on. Appreciate you taking time out of your day to come on here. We're gonna try and do
Thanks for
this.
having me.
Yeah, you're obviously welcome anytime. I'm gonna try and do this after every series. We're gonna have multiple guests on hopefully throughout the season. It will be cool to see how that goes. Or who knows? Maybe this would be the only episode. Maybe I'm just very inconsistent. We'll see how it goes, but I really don't think that'll be the case. Yeah, but any last words you want to say before we sign off for this podcast?
I think I'm all good.
I think you're all good. Well, again, I appreciate you. Thank you everybody for tuning in to this series recap. We'll have one out for the Padres after that series finishes up. Hopefully, a little more positives than this one today. It'll probably be a little shorter as well. Kind of went 40 minutes today. That's pretty good length. Pretty good length for the first
Yeah.
episode. Obviously, there's a lot to talk about. But yeah, that's it. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate you guys.